here we are with another Natter That Matters, and this one really matters. I mean, all conversations matter, but this is with a lovely woman called Julie Creffield. Hello, Julie. Welcome to A Natter That Matters.
I'm so excited to be here. I love a good old natter.
Right? Women do. We met at a place where we couldn't really have a good old chat for quite a while, didn't we? It was only in the break, really. We were at an event. And I think women like to talk. We love to talk. We love to listen. We love to go, oh, poor you, and empathise. We love that. That's how we connect, don't we? So here we are. So well done. Thank you for being here. Very nice to see you. And I know just from the call, like the bit we just had a conversation about, that a lot has been happening in your world. And as with all the podcasts I record, I think I should have pressed the record button 5 minutes before. You've got the reality side of it as well, but I know that you're very real. So what's going on in your world, Julie? How's it all going?
I have had a roller coaster of a year, and I know we all say that we have the ups and the downs, but it has been, on reflection, probably the hardest year of my life. And I've been through some pretty hard times. This one nearly broke me. I mean, 6 months ago, I was genuinely questioning whether I wanted to live. And, I'm a single mum. So even getting that close to thinking about that was huge for me. I ended up on Prozac, like literally not even being able to cook dinner or get out of bed and stuff like that. And so, I said to you earlier on, I've been through such a reflective process. And I cannot believe that I'm up and standing and laughing, and I've got so much to look forward to, because 6 months ago I had nothing, or I felt like I had nothing to look forward to. And I know I'm not alone in getting to that point through this crazy journey that we call entrepreneurship.
You're definitely not alone. I've just, so I don't know if you know, since I last saw you, so I now coach and certify coaches. So they're learning, sorting all their stuff out over my 6-month program, and then going out into the world. And there's at least two, probably three of them that are helping people that are on that edge, that part of, I can't go on anymore. And there's so big a need for it right now. I mean, more so now than ever. And everybody said lockdown created mental health stuff. But I think it did more than that. I think it took the resilience, the confidence, that fighting spirit. Like, we had to go through a lot, didn't we? And I think then just trying to fight your way back up is really tricky. So I'm so glad you're sitting here, because that would have been a real sad story to have heard. I definitely wouldn't have wanted that. So not broken anymore by the sound of things.
So
Fully mended, are any of us ever fully mended? I think that's the journey, that's the nirvana. So so what and there will be people listening to this, watching this, who are feeling like that. And so how did you go from that whole kind of no to actually, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to move myself through this?
Yeah, I think often when we reach that crisis point, we go back to our kind of childlike state, don't we? And we look to be rescued, to be helped by other people. And I definitely have had some help, don't get me wrong. I've had the best friends support and stuff like that. But I also realised none of my friends could really help. I'd moved my whole life from East London, where I've lived for 40 odd years, to my dream home. In the countryside. I live in £1 million barn conversion. It's absolutely beautiful. And then I got made redundant. So I'd started this job, moved house, moved my daughter out of her school, settled in this beautiful life, and then got made redundant. And it was like, why me? And so none of my friends could help financially. None of my family would ever have been able to help financially. I'd chosen this. I'd got myself in this mess, and I had to be the one to get myself out of it. But when you're, as you say, like the pandemic and everything else I've been through, I'd always been bouncing back. But the problem with bouncing back is you take so much energy to get back to where you were, you've got nothing left to move you forward. I'm sick of bouncing back. I don't want to bounce back anymore. And so I had to, I'm sick of being resilient and strong and all those things.
Somebody said to me earlier, you're like Madonna, reinventing yourself the whole time.
I'm sick of it. And so I thought, I've got to draw a line under this. I've got to use this experience to give me something new, a new way of thinking, so that I never come back to this place. I've got to create some security for myself and for my child, And so I really reflected on all the things I've done over the last 40 odd years, all of my strengths, all of my assets, all of the things that no one else on this planet can do. And I created a new brand. I created a new brand, and what I wanted to do was create like a methodology that would be like a golden thread through all of my work. I'm forever reinventing things, coming up with new concepts, new programs, and people can't keep up. And I'm like, actually, I don't need to keep creating new things. I need to just sell the thing that I'm really good at, that genius thing. And so I gave myself a year. The brand is called The Year to Change. I gave myself 1 year, not only to bounce back, but to bounce forward. It took me 6 months to get back to this place where I'm, financially secure again, where I'm looking after my own health and well-being, where I feel like I've got purpose again. I feel stable. I'm not secure. I'm definitely not in that place, but I'm giving myself another 6 months to get there. And it really made me reflect on time. We waste so much time with the fear of judgment, with the fear of getting things wrong. But actually, one of the benefits of starting again, you've got nothing to lose. And so when you've got nothing to lose and you've got, bills coming in like 21 days, you take fearless action like no other time, And so I really reflected on the things that have worked for me over and over again, the things that I teach my clients that I don't always do for myself. And I come up with 12 principles that I believe if I stick with those religiously, I will never be broke again. And wow. So I've written a book, How Not to Be Broke, and it explores those 12 principles. And it's like a manifesto. It's a manifesto for change, not just for the reader. It's for me. It's to make sure I never go there again.
Create your own 12 steps, as it were.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're not allowed to say that. I'm sure I'll get sued for that. I mean, with just there are a few words that we've just put together. There's no reference to any branding of any description. Might get in trouble with some people. I mean, some people are allowed to use it, aren't they? Some very famous celebrity people are allowed to use that reference, but not us. But well done. So your book, so is out, is it? That's what I can see.
Well, that's a mock-up, right? So I really believe sometimes we have to create things to believe that they're true and real and it's worth working towards. So that's just a mock-up from Canva. The ebook goes live in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that the paperback, and then the audio book. So it's in momentum. It's with my editors at the moment. We're just getting all the graphics right. And I'm every day looking at those principles for myself. I'm using it, on myself. And so it's almost like being a living, breathing example of how you recover from financial, challenges and ruin, financial ruin, but in a practical way, because not everyone goes through those big challenges. But I think day to day, most solopreneurs struggle with the feast and famine, worrying about where their next, chunk of money is going to come from. So it's not just for people that feel physically broke, but it's people that are sick of the feast and famine.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, that was the difference it made to me. So my programs are all about finding your way, like your authentic way to 50K, because for me, that was the magic number. Now, some people are like, I can't live on 50K. Others are like, wow, I've never earned that. So I use it because it was my figure. It was 5K. Everybody says, oh, yeah, but a year is 60. And I know, yeah, but I had expenses, I had internet to pay for and things. But for me, having profit of 5K that I could then pay myself and put money aside, pay for services, pay for things, relax. It helped me be a different version of me. So, and I know that when you're in that fear state, that red state, and you're driving yourself, you're pushing, it will break you. It will eventually break you, especially women. No, the high feminine isn't used to that. She's an attractor. She wants to attract things. She doesn't want to push. She hasn't got that aggressive nature. And I think when I meet women, and I think we were both, when we met, we were both in an environment where there was a lot of pushing going on. It's like, it's not how we're supposed to be. It's not. We're supposed to be nice and balanced, with a nice balance of a bit of a push and a nice attract. And that's how we like to do business. So I'm really glad that you've realized where you need to be, because if we're in the wrong environment and we haven't got that baseline of money, like I don't know about you, but I know when I coach people, if they haven't got any money at all, it's not about them not affording me. They will be running all their decisions from a whole different place of when you've got enough. And it's not even about lots, it's enough. That security that you're talking about.
But what's also interesting, the flip side of that, and there's a chapter in the book about this, is when you've got an excess of money.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that's tricky one for me.
Because during the pandemic, I had my best year ever, and you met me just after the pandemic. So I was rolling in the cash. I'd done over £250,000 of sales in 2020. So for the first time in my life, I had just an overflow. And what that meant was I made silly decisions.
So, yes, we both did, didn't we? We know of one that we both made.
Yeah.
Yes, I was the same. Best year. I mean, lockdown was the best year. Met the woman of my dreams just before, spent the whole of lockdown falling in love. Then, you know, people were terrified of losing their business. Mine was all completely and utterly automated and online, so I didn't have to worry about my own business. Spent literally 18 months helping everyone. I was exhausted. So yeah, you and I met when we were both really busy, but we were both a bit stressed because of it. I've done a lot of launching, a lot of stuff. It was exhausting.
And I was going in the wrong direction. So during the pandemic, I was doing what I love to do, like you. I'm just serving, and I made loads of money. After the pandemic, I was like, now what? What else could I do? And I got caught up in other coaches and their vision of being a millionaire. I've never wanted to be a millionaire. It doesn't drive me. Do I want to impact millions of people? 100%. Do I want to be paid properly? Do I want to use my money for good? Totally. But the label of millionaire, that doesn't really light me up. You know, I'm not into designer goods or any of that. And so because I had lost my focus, lost my sense of purpose, lost my sense of direction, I made myself ill. I was making really rubbish business decisions. I had all sorts of people in my business that didn't need to be in my business. You know, and it was a wake-up call that if you get out of alignment, either way, either by making too much money and doing silly things with it, or not having enough money, you know, it's almost a different side of the sword.
100%. I couldn't agree with you anymore. And no one ever talks about that bit. No one talks about when you make too much money. And ironically, I was on a retreat. So it must have been 2019, I think it was. We've lost some years, haven't we? I don't even know what year it was. Anyway, I was at a retreat, and I remember thinking, I don't need all the money. That was what was blocking me from serving more people, because I come from a family of compulsive gamblers. So I don't know if you know that. So I'm not a big backstory person, but you know, that's my truth. And so in my head, I had firmly rooted, I don't ever want to gamble again. So actually, if a load of money came towards me, would I trust myself? So actually, the truth is, of course I do, but that was definitely blocking me. And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll start a foundation. So if I do have too much money, I can put it in there. Like, instead of wasting it and buying speedboats and Porsches, which I have done, I can put it to good use and still help. So I found a purpose for that cash, and that is really important. And that was just before lockdown. So that, you know, that was but yeah, absolutely what to do with too much money, because the brain can't cope with that. You know, you watch people that win the lottery who then fritter it all away and worse off. They hate it. They wish they'd never won it, because the brain can't cope with that. They can't cope with that. It's still famine, as you quite rightly say. We need that certainty and that stability, especially financially. 100%.
And I think when you come from a working class background, or even if you're middle class, I've been reading a fantastic book about social mobility. It's called Snakes and Ladders. It's just an incredible book. It's very academic, but it traces the working class people and their fight for success over the last 40 years. And it really opened up my eyes to so much, and it helped me to reflect on the conditioning we get from our parents, because even if we are middle class, our parents were probably working class, because the middle classes grew after the war and all of those kind of things, and we have all of that conditioning, you know. And like, my mum had 6 kids, her mum had 8 kids, my great grandma had 18 children.
Wow, my mum's 14. I thought that was a lot. 18 now. You win the award. That's the most I've ever heard.
Like, every time I write that down, I'm like, I know I keep saying it, because I cannot comprehend, how do you cook and clean and nurture and look after that number of other human beings? How can I ever moan about having to put the tea on or having to do the washing up for one child? And you know,
I'm going about taking the dog for a walk. I'm looking, so please know that I'm on this page. Yeah, I figured the ancestors did it all for me. I didn't have to do that. Very, that ancestral kind of wound, if you like. And there's loads of the trauma wounds and ancestral wounds and the mother wound. There's all this sort of stuff going on. But yeah, the money side of things is a really big deal. And I think it's not about the money typically. For me, it wasn't. I don't know about you, but for me, it was about self-worth. So like, my parents both went to bingo. You know, so gambling, they weren't, you know, seedy bookies or anything. It seemed like it was a really nice hobby. it's only a hobby unless you compulsively have to do it, which is
Yeah.
essentially what I was brought up with. And so what I learned was, we haven't got money for good ham, but we'll take it to the bingo and put it in a slot machine. And that was my, like, you know, that's more important than eating good food. That's more important than doing social things. That's more important than having, you know, nice quilt covers, you know, whatever, however you want to reflect it, the cash all went there. So it's taken so many years for me to unpick that and go, actually, that's not true. That's just what my mum learned. That's not mine. It's
You know
really
what's
tricky.
really interesting? There's a connection here, and I don't know if I'd made it before, but you know, being an entrepreneur, particularly a solopreneur, it's like playing the lottery, right?
Yeah. Oh,
We still have that mentality of it could be you, right? And yet the chances are, you know, when we look at how many small businesses there are in the UK, 99.9% of them are small to medium-sized enterprises. 90% of them never employ another member of staff. So we are a nation built on solopreneurs, and yet very few of them are making more than six figures. Very, very few. You know, it's.
I can give you an even scarier statistic, because I coach at all ends of the spectrum, and very few of them are paying themselves even minimum wage, let alone, I mean, some of them are not paying themselves at all. It's almost like a hobby.
Yeah.
And then minimum wage, and at best the wage they earned when they were earning a full job.
And when you was talking about, like, you know, haven't got money for ham but got money for that, it's the same in the you know, the online world. Is people say, oh, you know, I can't afford a holiday, and I can't afford this, and I can't afford to get the kids new shoes, but you've just invested £1,000 with some wanky coach in America who doesn't give a shit about you. And like, do you get what I mean? So you're spending the revenue, the small amount of revenue, or you put it on your credit card. It's like a gamble. It's a gamble. I want people to make better investments.
I agree with you. And of course, the thing is, they get sold into it, you know, typically, and I've heard this all week, last week, it must be resonating with me, that the people that are best at what they do are usually not very good at marketing, and the people that are good at marketing are typically not that good at what they do. So if you look at, you know, we can buy some crap products online, they look amazing, and I know, because I'm a victim to this on TikTok. TikTok Shop gets a lot of my money, and it arrives and I go, what is that? So it doesn't even look the same. There's like no representation of it. So yeah, we get fooled into the hope and the promise. This is what happens. And I have lots of people who want to come and work with me, and I'm not the most expensive coach by any stretch of the imagination. Try and keep my prices as low as I can for what I provide, and I'm sure you do the same, because most people have been and spent £5,000 on something that didn't even deliver a fraction. And that's not because that it doesn't deliver to anyone, but it probably wasn't right for them, or they didn't get what they thought it was something else, and then they can't afford to get what they need. In fact, I spoke to a woman last week who'd spent £5,000 on her website. Yeah. And I'm like, and what is the website giving to you? Nothing. What could you have spent that £5,000 on? Like, people don't know how to use their money. They don't know how to spend it, invest it, earn it. They don't know, and we're not really taught it. And apparently they teach in schools now, but I'm not really sure.
And I think there is this myth around what entrepreneurship is, and most business owners, and maybe I'm generalizing, but a lot of business owners come in because they've got a passion for the thing they do. They don't want to do marketing, they don't want to do sales, they don't want to look at the numbers, they definitely don't want to ask people to give them money. And so they procrast a brand, they procrast a learn, they procrast a whatever to avoid doing the thing that is actually building your business.
Yes, they do. And it's interesting. I say there's two types of people who come towards me, definitely. There's those that want to spend all the time strategizing and never doing it. And then there's the others that just go and do it, but they've got no foundation to the business. And either way, you're fucked, quite frankly. To be an even balance of a foundation and an understanding, and then being out there and, you know, letting people know you exist and how they can work with you. Because if you've got either of those missing, you can't do it. And I've never found, if you can get that balance right, that's when you start to succeed. Of course, we also, all of us, and none of us we all have this going on, where we see other people with their 7-figure launches, 8-figure launches, and we look at them and think, well, if they can do it. And I look at some of those coaches and think, I am definitely a better coach than them. Like, I mean, I don't mean an egotistical way, but I definitely know I am. I'm, you know, the transformations, I've got thousands of testimonials. How can they have a 7-figure launch and I struggle to sell a 27 quid product. What is the difference here? And the difference is marketing, positioning, being out there, consistency, getting it right. Like you said about having, you know, kind of that program that is definitely the core of what you do. And most people are just doing whatever they can do. They're just kind of out there, kind of throwing, like you say, it's a bit of a hit and hope. It's like, you know, gambling. It's literally like, well, I'll put something on every horse. And
maybe that'll work. Maybe that'll work. Fingers crossed. Maybe.
Hope method, yeah. I want to hope this time it's better. So, and there's no real strategy. They haven't got a clue what they're doing, and neither do they assess what they've done to see what did and didn't work. They just go, oh, I'm no good at business, I'm no good at this. Absolutely what you just said there. So yeah, so is this a clue about what you're going to do from the book? So the book is called
How Not to Be Broke.
How Not to Be Broke. Just give it a little pimp there. How Not to Be Broke. Let's let the algorithms pick that up a bit more. How Not to Be Broke. How Not to Be Broke by Julie Creffield. I'm assuming it's your name on it. It's not some sort of. And so what's going to happen? So people buy the book, they read it, they probably laugh and cry with you, because I know that you said earlier is semi-autobiographical, which and very therapeutic. I know when I wrote mine, I know it's not masses about me, but the beginning was about me, and it's like, it's a scary thing when you press that button, Julie. It's a really scary thing. Oh, shit, people are reading that about me. I wrote that. It's really terrifying. It really is the scariest thing I've ever done. And then what happens? They read the book, then what?
So I want them to first and foremost understand the kind of business they're running. You know, entrepreneurship, solopreneurship is this big homogenous group of people. Some people that are doing it full-time, some people that are doing it part-time, some people are side hustle, and yet all of the information that's out there is just like, you can all be millionaires. And so I want people to understand the kind of business, A, that they're running, and the kind of business that they want to run. And so I've got a quiz that helps people to identify what kind of business they are. The truth is, most solopreneurs are running loss-leading businesses. And even if they're making a profit, that profit comes at a cost because they're not looking after other areas of their lives. So what I want everyone to run is a liberated business. I don't care how big your income targets are, how big you want to scale. That doesn't bother me. You can be the smallest kitchen business if you want, as long as you know that there is an excess and an overflow of your energy and time and money and all of those kind of things. And so once you understand the type of business that you want to run, then you can become a much more discerning buyer of support, coaching, services, product to help you grow your business at the rate that you want to. Obviously, as a coach, I want to lead people through my pipeline. I'd be an idiot not to. But I don't want to work with hobbyists. You know, I'm not going to be able to help you. I can inspire you. Don't get me wrong. You can read my books, you can listen to my stuff, but I don't have a coaching package for hobbyists. You know, I want to help people move from being a loss-leading business into a profitable business that feels liberated. So that's my target market. And then the other group of people that I'm really good at helping are those, and it is predominantly women, if I'm being honest. Men don't tend to buy from me. But it's women who are coming to, it sounds dramatic, but they're coming to like the end or the end part, not the end part of their career, right? And they've probably had a portfolio career. They've probably done some corporate work and some freelance work, and they've now got a business, and they're thinking about legacy. You know, I worked for 8 years on the Olympic Games. A big part of what I did was about legacy master planning. And so I've got a program called the Legacy Master Plan, and it's very high level. It's not about tactics. It's about mission, purpose, putting structural things in place so that when you're gone off this planet, there are things that still remain, whether that is IP or it's books or it's a podcast or it's, you know, upskilling your kids, or whether it's setting up a foundation, whatever it is that you feel like, if I was to, you know, die tomorrow, my life's work hasn't been in vain. And, you know, it's so emotive. And that is the stuff that I am just a bloody genius at.
Even have this conversation. And of course, people listening to this know me, I'm sure, and that's what my She Enjoys Life Foundation exactly is. My She Thrives program does exactly. We have got a shared mission, which is why we're having this conversation right now. After probably a year and a half ago, I don't even know, I can't remember what day we met, but yes, we have that shared mission, because there does come, like you say, we go through that journey and people say, oh, who do you serve? I'm like, the people starting out, the people leaving their job and wanting to earn their own money and get a bit of security, get a bit of confidence, freedom. This is what we're all sold, isn't it? Freedom's a big biggest joke that a business owner's told at the beginning, isn't it? Like it's it's a lie until you work it all out. And then those that are a bit stuck and unstuck in them, those that are scaling. But yeah, when they get to the other end, I've got a few clients that have been with me for quite a number of years who are now starting not-for-profits and creating that legacy. That what now is that question, isn't it? Okay, so I've done I've saved the world, I've helped myself, I've proved what I can do, I've got loads of friends, I've been on all the holidays. Now what happens next? And there definitely comes an age, I don't know how old you are, we didn't have that conversation, but there definitely comes an age where you need something more as a purpose. There has to be something driving that purpose. Otherwise it feels quite empty. It really it doesn't matter, as you said earlier, how much cash you've got, how many things you've got, how many holidays, how many friends nights out. You've got to have something that lights you inside. There has to be. So we've got a shared mission of that. I feel we might do some stuff together. Just got this feeling. Could be fun, hasn't it? Because otherwise now if it bores me, I'm just like, no. I mean, even if in fact my wife was just watching a program and I heard one line the bloke said, I am not watching that. I don't even know, like the noise of his voice is so boring. I'm not even, he could be the most intellectual person, but I just can't listen to that voice. Like, we need more, we need something more, don't we?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So is the program launched as well? Are you launching it all at the same time? How can people get involved?
So it's actually this week. Why would I do both things at the same time? Because I'm an idiot. This morning I did my first call for the Solopreneur Roadmap, and then on Friday I've got my first session for the Legacy Master Plan. And part of my recovery was knowing I only needed to fill those two places to come back to my financial kind of safety place. So it was eight people on one program and 7 on the other. So sometimes it's about going back to basics, knowing what you need, but also knowing what you want. And one of the big drivers for me was I didn't want to get back to just covering my finance, the stuff that goes out. I desperately needed a holiday, or I wanted a holiday actually, and I didn't want a cheap as chips caravan one. I've had them. I just wanted something really luxurious. So me and my daughter Rose, we went off to Lanzarote, to the most beautiful hotel. And we just had a glorious week of real abundance and an opportunity for me to reflect on what I managed to do in 6 months, Nice.
Self-pride, big deal. And when you pull yourself out of the gutter, that level of self-pride, if you stop for a moment and kind of really appreciate who you are and what you've done, which hopefully you are doing now, it sounds like you are, you're very glowy. If you can't see this, go and find this this sound version and see how glowy Julie is. But yeah, it sounds like you found your flow, and that's really, really important. Finding your thing, finding your why, finding your flow. So well done. Very proud of you. It sounds quite condescending. I don't mean it to be. But yeah, very proud of you being able to work out. And the thing is that at that time when you were made redundant, and I know because I was made redundant 3 times on the bounce, that's how I decided never again. People say jobs are safe. They're not. They're the least safe thing. I'm now safe because I create my own situation, whatever. If it's shit, it's me. If it's great, it's me. If it's anything in between, it's me. And so it's really hard, though, really hard to bounce back from that, especially if you've got lack of confidence and motivation and you've been trodden down and you've tried so hard. So anybody listening to this, to be able to pull yourself up and congratulate yourself as you're doing it and while you're doing it, and then be able to pass the message on, that sounds like a legacy to me, Julie Creffield. Exciting, right? So looking forward to the book. Hopefully you've sent me some links, or you will send me some links we can add to this so that people can come and get it, download it, enjoy it, give you reviews, etc. And if there's anything else that the She Enjoys business building community can do to help you to help themselves, because we're all going through different things at different times. My famous Rumi quote that I love is, we're all just walking each other home. So yes, it'd be lovely. And so then what'll happen? So no, we're not looking for multi-million pounds things. What is the plan? Is there I know, how will you know when you've made it?
I don't think there is a moment, and I think that is where we sometimes trip ourselves up. We go, when I'm here, that will signify that I'm enough. When I'm here, I'm enough today. I was enough 6 months ago. And it's that realization. People think that legacy is about what you leave behind. It's not. It's about what you do every day, because tomorrow's not promised. So if you are always in the future, when I've done this, then I'll be like worthy, and then people will congratulate me. And no, it's how you behave today, it's what you do today, the choices you make today. Accumulatively, that's what becomes your legacy. So I'm being really mindful not to set these massive goals, which is what's driven me all these years, you know, around, and I've always just been trying to, and I reflect on this in the book, you know, at school, I was written off. You know, in the opening chapter, I talk about, you know, the teacher said, oh, what do you want to be in my careers lesson? I said, I don't care, anything, just not poor, right? Because I was, you know, one of 6 kids in a working class, single parent family. I wasn't expected to do well. They encouraged me to become a nursery nurse. Do you know how much nursery nurses get paid? You know, like, and I was hugely academic. You know, I've got a first class degree, I've got a master's degree, and I was told that I wasn't. You know, don't bother going to college, don't bother. And so I think I've spent the last 40 years trying to prove them all wrong, trying to prove my own parents wrong, trying to prove my siblings wrong, trying to prove my ex-partner wrong. I don't give a shit about any of those people anymore. I don't even have to prove anything to myself. And so I don't have, and I understand why we ask these things of each other, like, what's next? What's next? I don't know is the answer.
Exciting.
Yeah, right?
Each day not knowing what's next, but feeling secure. That's the legacy, surely. Because that security comes from a sense of knowing. It's not even about the money or anything, that you're going to be okay. And I think, you know, when I was 30, so 21 years ago, I lost both my parents in 8 months. And after that, for me, nothing that bad could ever happen again. That sense of knowing of, I've been and done the worst. Like, whatever happens to me, if I can get through that and still smile, I can literally do anything. And I think that resilience comes from being fearless. And once you've been to the worst place you could be, and it sounds like you went there, Julie, once you've been there and you come out of that, there's no stopping you. So who knows? Who knows? Tomorrow isn't written. I look forward to knowing what's written in the pages. Thank you so much for being on A Natter That Matters. We could chat all day, couldn't we? We really should. We should continue this. I would imagine, which is the other thing that women like to do, is to get together and really put the world to rights. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.